Right, Mark. So we're just going to go through some ninth chords there with root notes on the A string and the E string. So let's get straight into it. So we know about add nines already, which are, so your baseline chord is major or minor. So first, third, and fifth. Third being the major minor decider. If it's high, it's major. If it's low, it's minor. So then add nines are the kind of the simpler version where it skips the seventh. So there's C. Then if we just add the 9, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the name note of the chord, in other words, that isn't the lowest one essentially, and you go 2 above that, and you get an add 9. So minor add 9, for example, there's E minor. There's an E note in the E chord, not the lowest one. And there's an E minor add 9. There's another way you could do it. There's an E note that also isn't the lowest one. Take that up. So 9 chords, there's minor nines, major nines, and just nines, which are the ones we're going to be looking at today. So they include the 7th, right? So the 9th, the note itself is always 2 semitones above the 8th, unless otherwise stated. Whereas the 7th can be either or. You can have flat nines, for example, or sharp nines even as well, which would be, if you think about it, the same as a minor 10th or just a minor third. So we'll get into that too. Okay, so we'll just have a look at some open ones first, just to kind of get the theory down, and then we'll talk about how you can take these up the fretboard. So starting off with an E chord, E major. So if we take that, so a 9th chord. So we'll talk about just nines first, right? E9. So E9 means E major with a minor 7th and the 9th, right? So let's say, so one way you could do it is there's your minor 7, 8th taken down by 2, and there's another 8th in the chord there that we can bring up by 2, so there's E9. Now, in my opinion, it's a nicer way of doing it, and it's quite handy if you can do this as well. Hold down 2 strings at the same time with your fingertip. See that? So then you can get this 9 again, but this 7th. Now, failing that, with these chords, right? So we're talking nines here. So these are chords with 5 notes in them. Okay. Now we do have 6 strings on the guitar, but even so, getting all 5 notes into the chord is dependent on the position you're in. Is not always practical. So what you can do is you can drop the 5th. The 5th is, I won't say it's completely redundant, but it's kind of, what I always say is the 5th is kind of almost implied by the 1st. Okay, so we can drop it and still have, without losing the essence of the chord, right? So what you could do then is, if you really want this texture, but you're not too keen on this holding 2 strings down at the same time, just hold down the D string, block the A string. So you still got the bass there. Okay, so that's E9. Now, to take it up the fretboard, what we can do is this, right? So we'll go, the classic kind of 9 chord that's kind of mobile is this. So we'll do another E9 here. So there's 1st, major 3rd, minor 7th, 9th, and there's the 5th up here. So we're just barring across the first 3 strings with the 3rd finger. There's the major 3rd, and there's the root. And then, because this is E9, we can leave in that as well if we want. Okay, so that's your root note on the E string. So let's say you want an A9, but you don't want to take it all the way up there. What you could do is this. Take E7, bring it up to where it's A, so bar it on the 5th fret. So there's the 7th, and then we'll add in the 9th here. It's 2 frets above on the 1st string. So there's a 9 chord, 2 different ways that you can put anywhere. So if it's D9, it's here. If it's G9, it could be here, or it could be here. Okay, and but the main thing is just understanding the anatomy so that you can find these things for yourself. Those are just 2 that I would go to that are reasonably accessible, but those are not remotely the only ways you can do this. So, okay, so let's look at minor nines, right? So, very simple. If we go from this, by the way, taking it down here, there's E minor add 9, and there's the minor 7 that we need for it, right? So E minor 9 is just E minor with the minor 7th in it and the 9th. So there it is there. So E minor chord, there's the 9, 2nd fret on the E string, 3rd fret on the B string is the 7th. let's say we want to do an A minor or an A minor 9. We'll talk about taking it up the fretboard in a second. So you got A minor. There's the 9. So 4th fret on the G, and then there's our 7. There's an A note. Take that down for the 7th, and there you've got an A minor 9. Okay. Now, taking these up the fretboard, it's pretty obvious what you can do here. Well, it's pretty obvious for both of them, actually. So there's E9. That's the major 3rd. So that's E minor 9. Just drop the 3rd down by 1. Okay. So that's one with the root on the A string. And then if you want one with, let's say, an A minor 9. So there's A9. We had that there earlier on. There's A minor 9. Okay, so moving on from that then, there's the major 9 too. Now this one is a bit awkward just because of the way it's laid out, so we will drop, just in this particular version of it, we'll drop the 5th. So I'll show you a lovely one that you can get with the open strings if you're pushed about stretching. So here, so a major 9 is a major chord with a major 7th in it. So it's a major 7 chord plus the 9, right? So there's our, so we'll get our 9 first. Now you do have to do this with your 3rd finger. There's E major. There's E major add 9. And there's the major 7, 4th fret on the B string. Real lush kind of chord. Okay, now, so to take this up the fretboard, so this barring business doesn't really work anymore because this needs to be up. So we've got our first major 3rd. There's our major 7 there. And there's our 9. Now, from this shape, we need a B note for the 5th. So now what you can do if you really want the 5th in there is just kind of hold this one down like this. Then we come in here, pretty awkward, more or less. But as I said, the 5th is somewhat redundant. So this will do just fine. And so on. Okay, so there's a major 9, and then if we want to put the root on the E string, a little bit awkward again, right? So let's go with A major 9. So there's A major. We'll reduce it down to this. There's our A major 7. So we need a major 7, and then we add the 9, right? So we've got, well, actually, so we've got, there it is there. Okay, so let's see how we kind of derive that, right? So we're going, so there's our first, our root note. So we'll do that with a thumb. There's the 8th, so there's our major 7th. Okay. Now, so we are going to hold down the root with the thumb, skip the A string. There's our major 7th. There's our major 3rd. There's a 5th, and there's the 9. Okay, so we've got thumb on the 5th fret, middle finger on the D string 6th fret, 3rd finger on the G string 6th fret, 1st finger on the B string 5th fret, and little finger on the 7th fret, E string. Okay, so just rewind then if you want to go back over them. So there's a few 9 chords that'll definitely get you started on them anyway. And with that, you can at least play them all those 3 types of 9 chords 2 different ways, so you can get them pretty much anywhere on the fretboard. So see you again on with that. I'll see you next time.